thank you very much. And I will do my best here to speed us up some so that we have time to get through everybody's discussion. So I may move on rapidly, but thank you, and I appreciate the invitation.
Uh-oh.
Never mind.
I don't know what that is. In the one Congress.
Yeah. So I will move through this relatively quickly. ACES prepared a report last year, a detailed report, and I'm going to talk about that basically and give an update in terms of how activities have played out in terms of a report card back to the administration and the Congress on how they're doing consistent with the American Solar Energy Society recommendations. This is just an overview of the things that I'll touch on. Before I do that, Vermont Energy Investment Corporation is a nonprofit. We're located in Burlington, Vermont. We have offices in New Jersey and in Massachusetts as well. We operate Efficiency Vermont, which was the first third-party administered and operated efficiency utility. I'll talk a little bit about that. We have about 200 employees today. Most of the people are involved in delivery of services for Efficiency Vermont. We also have about 30, 35 people that do consulting work across policy, projects, and program design. The green states are states that we've worked in or are currently working in. And we're trying to focus some of our work now on moving potentially into some more implementation utilities in states that are heavy coal users. Vermont actually has a feed-in tariff, a statewide feed-in tariff, one of the first ones in the country, and so we've been active in working on that with some of the project developers. This slide, before I get to the ACES work, shows the yellow line shows the savings being generated by Efficiency Vermont, and the green line shows the rate of load growth without efficiency. So in 2007, and now in 2008, and continuing in 2009, based on our reports, what we've done is we've turned load growth in the state of Vermont, electric load growth, negative. We're now saving more with efficiency than the natural load growth. And so our load curve is actually starting to go down. And we're doing that at a cost of about 3 cents, or less than 3 cents per kilowatt hour, actually. So as we've scaled up, we haven't started to get to any point of diminishing returns. It actually shows as we're getting higher and higher savings, they're becoming more cost effective. People come back to Efficiency Vermont more because they've had good experiences in the past and are willing to work with us. So we think that this model is very replicable, and really think that, as the ACES policy paper shows, that efficiency is a really key element towards achieving some of the climate goals that we have in front of us. I've had the privilege to be a member of the American Solar Energy Society now for over 15 years, participating regularly in their annual conference. I've been a board member for the last couple of years. Brad Collins is the executive director of ACES, is here today. ACES has more than 13,000 professional and basic members. It was founded in 1954, I think perhaps in Phoenix or very close to here. So this is not a new organization that's just started to promote these things. I think that the academic research and the level of quality that's and the history that ACES has is very impressive and important. There are 40 state and local based chapters. The ACES Solar Conference will be here at this same venue in May. I encourage people to participate in that if they can. Solar Today is the award-winning magazine, the National Solar Tour and Conference. If people that aren't members of the American Solar Energy Society, I encourage you to consider joining. The ACES Policy Committee, which I'm the chair of, developed this report we released it last February, with the objective of providing some independent being not industry supported, basically policy recommendations for the Obama administration and the 111th Congress, looking across all renewable and efficiency resources, driven by the climate and economic impact goals that ACES has laid out in previous work. There were over 30 expert members and contributors on the committee in the report. An important caveat that I'll give today is I'm giving a report card on how well Congress and the administration is doing related to this report. we had 30 members contribute to the report. I'm the one who's done the report card. So the grades that we'll see here today are my interpretation of where things stand, not necessarily the committee's. As I said, they build upon actions and research that ACES has done previously. The Tackling Climate Change in the United States report done, organized by Chuck Kutcher and released in 2006 is a very detailed report on how energy efficiency and renewables can reach the type of climate change goals that we're looking at. And then some of the economic driver and the economic impact work that's been done in support of this also is the basis and the foundation for the policy recommendations. Brad will be presenting tomorrow on the Green Jobs Impacts, room 222A tomorrow morning if you want to hear more about that specifically. So the goals that are associated in the policy recommendations are to reduce emissions from 1.1 to 1.4 million, or 1,100 to 1,400 million tons of carbon by 2030, basically showing the wedge analysis, with the blue wedge being, the top wedge being efficiency, and the wedges below that being the renewable technologies. This is from Tackling Climate Change. With a net increase in both jobs and positive economic impacts, the policy recommendations are meant to be specific to Congress and the state legislatures in terms of what do we need to do if we want to reach these types of goals. So the policy paper structure, and the policy paper, if people are interested, is available for free on the ACES website. You can go and download that document. The structure, and we think that there's benefit for people that are constituents as well as the policymakers to go download these things, because it gives you a good guide and reference that you can recommend to lawmakers if you call them or if you're talking to staff. You can give them some very specific recommendations about the things you'd like to see them supporting. So there are recommendations in 7 topical areas: carbon, building, energy efficiency and renewable energy, transportation, smart grid, renewable electricity, federal leadership, and green jobs. Each one has some summary recommendations and then specific policies with the jurisdiction and a time frame for the implementation of those. The ACES position is not that we need to do everything. One thing that I noted in President Obama's speech the other night was he listed almost every type of energy activity that could be undertaken in terms of all the things we need to do. The ACES position is that the nuclear and coal technologies are not necessary, and that with aggressive support and action in energy efficiency and renewable energy that we can meet the climate goals that are before us and also reap the economic impacts. So that may differ from some of the other positions that are taken by people. So in terms of coming up with the report card grades, I use this kind of a framework for determining out of between, in each one of those 7 topical areas, there are between 4 and in some cases over 20 specific policy recommendations. And this is just meant to grade how well, in general, again, it's my interpretation of how well then things are playing out with respect to all of these. Going through the 7 different topical areas, unfortunately, I think carbon would not score very highly, and I gave it a D, possibly a C-. The House has passed the Waxman-Markey. There is stronger legislation, particularly Maria Cantwell's bill in the Senate. The ACES policy recommendation is to have an upstream cap and auction, so it's not cap and trade where the allocations are distributed to emitters, but an auction system, and have it as far upstream in the economy as possible so that there are relatively fewer points of control. One of the big benefits of this is that it will be a much simpler and more transparent system than some of the cap and auction activities. And so we think that the Cantwell bill deserves more attention and recognition as this debate goes forward, and hopefully the Congress and the administration will be able to figure out ways to move forward.